Yo, what's up? Welcome inside the opening line right here, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. Benny, what's going on with you? It is in this area, this could be one of the big days in sports ever, really.
So I don't know. Well, I know you know this because I was talking to you about it last night. But I was in the Stone Age yesterday, Corey. I am an Optimum internet and cable subscriber. So if you live in the New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania area, and you had Optimum, their whole system went down last night at about 8:30, somewhere around there. So I didn't know what the hell to do with myself. I had no cable. I had no internet on a computer. I basically only had my phone connected to my normal service. You know how you can kind of get like slow internet pages, kind of rolling up. So that's literally the only communication I had with the outside world last night. So, me and my son were sitting here reading comic books until that came back on, which honestly didn't happen till like midnight or so. So I had like nothing. So I'm sitting here with a whole bunch of money, a whole bunch of games going on, a whole bunch of DFS stuff going on, and I had no way of sweating it. And I got to say, it kind of sucked.
No, let me tell you something. It's almost like for people who didn't grow up with this technology that everybody has now, you can't live without it. Put it like this. Yeah. For the first 25 or so years of my life, a cell phone was kind of, if you had one, you had one. If you didn't, you didn't. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, I can legit leave the house, get to where I'm going. And if I realize I don't have my telephone with me, I'm going back to go get it.
Well, I mean, a good example of what you're saying is like my 10-year-old son has a cell phone. We got it for him last year for Christmas, right? And he was like the last one of his friends to get one. Yeah. Like that's why we got it for him, because like all his friends already had one, and they were all like texting each other and playing, Fortnite with each other on their phones. And he was like, Dad, I need a phone. Everybody else has one. You know what I'm saying? I was like, none of your friends have phones. And then we went to a party and they're all sitting in the corner on their phones. Nobody's talking to each other. I was like, oh, I guess everybody's got a phone. You're right. So it is pretty crazy. Like I said, I used to collect comic books. So I had this whole big box of comic books. And my kid's into like the Avengers and stuff now. My wife took him to see the movie and all that. So I basically took the box down yesterday and I said, here, son, this is what we used to do before technology took over the world. We used to actually read like actual books, not on our phone. So him and I sat around, we read some comic books last night. It was kind of cool. Yeah, something a little different. Normally we're sitting here watching games and stuff like that until I send him to bed, or he's playing video games until he goes to bed. So, it was cool. So thank you, Optimum, for getting me and my kid to hang out and read comic books last night.
I can use the same thing for Optimum to get my kids to do the same thing. It's funny you mentioned the phone situation. When my daughter turned 6, I bought her like a play cell phone, right? And she had, and I'm talking about, she bought that joint out. Every time I turned around, the joint was ringing. And I'm like, this was a bad idea. When she turned 7, though, she was like, I want an iPhone. And I was like, well, let's relax. We just asked the baby phone. You know what I'm saying? But her mother was like, no, she needs an iPhone, whatever. I don't know if I told you this story, but probably a couple of months ago, it was. I remember it was one Saturday. I'm sitting here getting ready to watch college basketball, and telephone rings, and I'm like, didn't recognize the number, but I knew it was a Maryland number. Mm-hmm. The first time it rang, I didn't answer. I was like, whatever. I just let it ride. The next time it rang, I was like, well, this could be one of the kids or something like that because it's a 301 number. So I answered the phone. I'm like, hello? So on the other side of the phone is a voice like, hello, is this Mr. Parson? I'm like, yes. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, but it's like a kid. You know what I mean? So, what's going on? He was like, my name is Joshua, and I sit at the same table as Kennedy in homeroom. So I'm like, okay. I forgot the name of the Roblox. He was like, we like to play Roblox together.
Okay.
In order to play Roblox, I have to have her telephone number. So, like, we want to play Roblox, but she said to me that my daddy said that I can't have a boy's telephone number. So he was like, I wanted to let you know that I'm only asking you for the telephone number so the two of us can play Roblox together. So I was like, all right, kid, go ahead. You know what I'm saying?
But you know what? I mean, that's cool on his part. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of kid that you want dating your daughter one day. You'd be like, you know what? You can keep that telephone number in there. You actually have some respect. I like that. Like,
and not only respect, but the courage at 8 years old to call. You know what I'm saying? I'm a grown man, Benny, and if somebody tell me you got to call my pops, I'll be like, bitch, you should.
No, that's true. That's true. You gotta keep that kid's number, man. He's gonna be something one day, that kid.
Hey, listen, you never know. You know what I'm saying? So there you go, right there. All right, so Benny, I catch a lot of flack and a lot of heat for my fandom. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's particularly when it comes to basketball, right? So obviously, growing up in this area, in the time when I grew up in this area, between the great high school basketball that we had in the mid '90s,
mm-hmm.
and and the great college basketball programs that were in the Big East during that era, and obviously the greatness of the New York Knicks in that era. I was a diehard, hardcore New York Knicks fan. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people all the time, it is nothing like you see how these teams right now are having these playoff runs. If the Knicks was in the playoffs right now in the conference finals, this whole area would be mesmerized.
Yep.
Take over this city like no other team can take over the city. And I feel that's ways the truth because, it's only, I hate to say this, but it's only one basketball team. It's only one pro basketball team in this area. Then that's whatever. I don't want no more beef with Net fans. Trust me, I've had enough beef with Net fans. But as somebody who enjoys watching basketball and seeing the dysfunction of the New York Knicks for the past 20 years, it kind of became like, okay, I joke around and say the Warriors are my Western Conference team. I get called the bandwagoner. Then I tell a story about how I was at the game the night when Steph had the 55 points at Madison Square Garden. And that night, I decided that the Warriors were going to be my Eastern Conference team. This is before the Warriors had won a championship. But, I'm labeled as a bandwagon and all of that. And it's good fodder for radio. And you know what I'm saying? And, Scott the King, and the boys hammer me about me all the time. But a couple of years ago, when they brought in Phil Jackson, I was full straight on boycott. Like, I will cancel MSG. I'm not buying no paraphernalia. I'm done with the New York Knicks until Phil Jackson is gone. Because Benny, I don't like Phil Jackson. I have a lot of reasons why I don't like Phil Jackson. But Phil Jackson, put it like this. To me, Phil Jackson is like Kurt Schilling. That's how much, I despise.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know your hatred for Kurt Schilling, so that's pretty big.
Phil Jackson is right there. So after Phil Jackson leaves the Knicks, of course, Scott Engel, the King, he was like, well, Phil Jackson is gone now. You have to go back to being a Knicks fan. I said, I'll let you know the night of the NBA draft lottery. Well, the night of the NBA draft lottery is here, Benny, and here we go. You can bet on it. We're going to get into it and break it down and talk about a lot of it. But who are the teams, Benny, the top three teams that have the best chance of winning, the Zion Williams sweepstakes?
Yeah, I mean, so, just going strictly by the percentages, right? So the Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, and the Phoenix Suns are the three teams that have the best chance to win it. So they're all at about 14%. So they all have, basically about a 1 in 7 chance of walking away with, with the top prize tonight, which is probably Zion Williamson. The Bulls are at 12.5%. The Hawks are at 10.5%. The Wizards are at 9%. So those are the teams that wind up having the best chance. I mean, those are the ones that have about a 1 in 10, 1 in 11 chance at the worst case scenario. And then you have like New Orleans, Memphis, Dallas, Minnesota, LA, Lakers, Charlotte, Miami, Sacramento, that all have like a 1 to 5% chance, basically. So, I mean, if any of those teams win it, like if you're going to bet on any of those teams to get it, you need like 20-1 odds or better. And, for like Miami, Sacramento, and Charlotte, who just missed the playoffs, they literally have a 1% chance of walking away with the first pick. So anything less than 100-1 odds on those teams, you don't even want to touch. But the ones you want to concentrate on are the ones up top with New York, Cleveland, and Philly. Each one of them being about a 1 in 7 chance, and they're all, I think it's plus 680. So there's a little bit of juice in there with it being like a 1 in 7 chance, but plus 680 is a decent number. If you're going to drop a bet on somebody getting Zion tonight, the Knicks, Cleveland, and Phoenix, at least by the numbers, are the teams you should be taking that shot
at. And I agree with you. And it probably pays off enough where you can take a shot on all three teams. I'm going to seriously consider it today when I make a trip over to the sports book. I think PointsBet may actually have better odds on it, but I'm going to get on there and log in and look that up. Once I get off a little bit later on today. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the Knicks right quick.
Good.
Oh, basically, yeah, let the Knicks, because I think the Knicks are the team that's most likely to do it. If the Knicks don't get the first pick and they get the second or the third pick, do you think they should trade that pick for Anthony Davis?
I would. I would. Because, I mean, you look at, like Zion's number one, right?
Yeah.
After Zion, I mean, it depends who you like, but really there's like a group of four guys right there, right? It's the two guys from Duke and RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish. You got John Morant, who's in the mix right there too. And then probably, who's the kid from Texas Tech? Jarrett Culver. And then probably Jarrett Culver from Texas Tech. Like, those are pretty much the consensus top five. Like, if you look at a lot of, like, the way too early NBA mock drafts when you don't even know what teams need, those are the five names that you see in different orders. Like, some people have different people slotted in there. And, again, until you know what team goes there, you don't know who's going to draft who. But those are the five guys that most people have there. So I would rather have Anthony Davis than John Morant, RJ Barrett, Jarrett Culver, or Cam Reddish, who are the other four guys going 2 to 5.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think that's probably what the Knicks are thinking too. We obviously feel the Knicks are in kind of a win now type mode because they feel like they're going to have this big free agent summer starting July 1st, really starting tonight.
Mm-hmm.
If Zion is that pick, you don't trade him. Not so much because of the upside, because of what he can do for you at the box office, which never had a problem with the box office. But he could be an out-of-this-world player. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He could also be the biggest disappointment in the history of professional sports. If it doesn't
happened before with number one overall picks, right? We've seen guys miss too. Not over time.
Happen to somebody of this type of talent. See, you got to think the last time we saw this was LeBron James,
right?
And
like honestly, the closest thing I could say to a guy that was like a can't miss kind of prospect that kind of missed was really injuries, right? Like maybe you go back to like a Greg Oden. Yeah, that was the guy I was thinking of. Or cocaine, if you want to go back to like Len Bias. But I mean, barring some kind of drug overdose or some massive injury situation, at the very least, I think Zion is going to be a well above average player. Like, I think that's his floor. His floor is a well above average player. His ceiling is obviously, potential superstar.
But right quick, you mentioned Len Bias. Do you remember watching Len Bias play?
No, I was like, Len Bias was in the early 80s, right? Like, I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old at the time.
Yeah, I have no recollection of Len Bias playing either. Now, we didn't, until ESPN came around and developed. Remember, ESPN was really the Big East network.
Yep.
I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of ACC basketball until, the
90s.
Yeah, exactly.
The 90s, Dickie V, Duke, North Carolina, after the UNLV thing, after the UNLV running Rebels is when college basketball really blew up on television.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that was the team that kind of started everything, and then after that, it was huge. I mean, I remember being like a 10 to 20-year-old, like those, those teen years. That was the 90s for me. I was born in 1980. I remember like Duke, North Carolina games being like, mom and dad letting us stay up until 8 or 9 o'clock and watching the game until 10 or 11 or whenever it was finished. Like that was a big deal at that point in time when I was like 10 or 11 years old. It was like, the Duke Carolina rivalries, and then, watching UNLV and watching Duke knock them off, and then, the Fab Five coming along. Like, to me, that was the college basketball heyday, and it just happened to be like right when I was in my, formative teenage type years.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of the Fab Five, and I know I'm moving all over the place, is Chris Webber a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, man. I think so. Like, again, he's one of those guys that never really won it all. But you look at his college basketball career, because the Basketball Hall of Fame is
not the NBA Hall of Fame.
Right. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. So there's foreign players in there. There's women in there. There's, it's all inclusive of all basketball. So you look at what he did in college, other than the timeout, which is what people remember, but he was a stud in college, And then you look at the pros, like they never won because they kept losing to those Lakers teams and stuff. But
yeah, probably those Sacramento teams, Benny, probably the best. Those Sacramento teams the Knicks teams of the 90s, and probably the Blazers of a little bit after those Sacramento teams are probably the best 3 teams to never win a championship.
Yeah, I mean, I used to love watching those Sacramento Lakers series were wars.
They were amazing. Yeah, those were amazing series.
Chris Webber, Vlade Divac going up against Shaq on the other side. You know, young Kobe coming into his own.
Complain about the referees now. The referees in no series. You remember that? You remember the Lakers shot 19 free throws in the fourth quarter of one of those games.
Yep. Well, I mean, listen, Shaq. Whether you like it or not, Shaq shot 20 free throws a game because whether you were hacking them or just in the course of the game, you didn't want to let him get easy dunks. You made him earn them from the free throw line because he was a 50-60% free throw shooter. Shaq always shot 20-something free throws, man. That was kind of just like par for the course.
No doubt. So you got Zion as the big ticket coming out tonight. So those are the 3 teams right there. Obviously, the Knicks pulled the major tank job. The Chicago Bulls tanked until they couldn't tank no more. And then the Phoenix Suns also in that mix. Now, Phoenix is the one that's the outsider in the bunch. I don't know how true this is, but it's rumored that if Phoenix was to get the number 1 pick, they want Morant and not Zion. And I'm thinking, a general manager, you can't do that. Like, if you're a general manager and you go tell your owner, we're going to pick Ja Morant, who I think Ja Morant is great. You know how I feel about the kid. Then I got to fire you because you're not thinking about the bottom line. Zion's biggest asset may be the attraction he is at the box office.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to sell whatever team he goes to. Put it this way, tomorrow you're going to be able to go online and buy Zion Williamson jerseys for whoever wins the lottery tonight.
Yep.
Whoever wins the lottery tonight, they're already going to have the Zion Williamson jerseys out there. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is there. It's fine if you want Ja. If you're going to use the pick, I mean, again, I don't think it's crazy to say we want to trade this pick and get another piece because Phoenix can't rebuild with 1 player. You know, I mean, as good as Zion Williamson is, like, he's not going to be the missing piece that all of a sudden makes Phoenix a good team.
Exactly.
If you get Ja and something else, again, I wouldn't do it, but I could at least understand what you're doing. But if you get the number 1 overall pick and you decide to take Ja Morant instead of Zion Williamson, to me, that's a huge mistake.
Yeah, that you're putting yourself on the line. It's like the Reggie Bush and who was it? Reggie Bush and
Mario Williams.
It's that kind of situation right there. Those are things that franchises have a hard time rebounding from if they don't get it right. Another interesting.
But you know what? You know what though? A lot of people don't say this. In retrospect, I think they got that one right.
They probably, wow, that was Charlie Cashley that made that pick. And I remember having Charlie Cashley on the Roto Experts a couple of times back in the day, and some people asked him about that pick, and he still to this day defends that pick. See, the Reggie Bush thing. You know, it's interesting talking about Reggie Bush because Reggie Bush was the first legit high school YouTube sensation. You can put on Reggie Bush YouTube high school tape right now, and it's to this day, the best high school tapes were Reggie Bush, Julio Jones, Derrick Rose, and really Zion, and a couple other cats come to mind. But those were like Reggie Bush was the first big time YouTube sensation. A lot of people look at what Reggie Bush did when he got to the pros and say that Reggie Bush was a disappointment. I don't look at Reggie Bush's career like that.
I mean, I'm not going to say he's a disappointment, but, you know, again, looking back on it, I mean, Mario Williams is a very good defensive end. He was able to put pressure on quarterbacks for them. He was able to help make that defense something big. You know, he was a hell of a player too. So when you look back at it, he probably did have a better career than what Reggie Bush did in the pros. Now, again, there were, you know, extenuating circumstances and injuries and things like that happened with Reggie Bush. But really, when you look back at Reggie Bush, what he is your third down back kind of guy who also could return punts and kicks.
And you're right. That could be more than, you know what, when he was able to be used and schemed effectively, he was a very good player. But another team I find interesting tonight, Benny, a team that could be a player away from making a playoff push next year, especially the way they finished the second half this season. The Atlanta Hawks don't seem like they're that far off. And that's a team that if they can jump into that top 3, they can really make a splash.
The top 3, they might have a chance at 2 top 6 picks in this draft.
That's crazy.
Wait, no, I shouldn't say that. Wait, Dallas was what? 1, 2, 3. Dallas was 7th, I think. They have a chance at 2 top 7 picks in this draft because so they have a 10% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick with their, you know, finishing 5th this year.
Yeah.
They also have Dallas's pick as part of the Trae Young Doncic trade from last year.
That's not protected?
It is protected, but it's only protected 1 through 5.
Okay.
So right now, let's say the 3 teams that get the top 3 picks are all in front of them. I think Dallas either finished like 7th or 8th overall. So let's say it just goes like it's supposed to. New York, Cleveland, Phoenix get the first 3 picks in whatever order. They would actually have picks like 5 and 7 or 5 and 8 in this draft.
Okay.
They would have 2 top 10 picks where, like you said, if a team that doesn't want, if there's a team that thinks they want more than Zion Williamson, they could actually trade the Hawks for 2 top 10 picks and walk away with 2 other pieces.
No, that's a good look. The Hawks are set up pretty good tonight. Going to be interesting to see how things play out for them. Their general manager comes from Golden State, and basically his thing is, he won't say this, but you can just look at how he's running the franchise. He's trying to build a Southeast Splash Brothers. You know what I mean? Obviously, the situation with Trae Young. Obviously, you know what that goes without saying. But the kid Kevin Huerter, if you was to look at him, not defensively, but he projects his ceiling is to be a Klay Thompson type player, and that's kind of the reason. And that's how they're trying to build their team. Like, he's on that kind of trajectory right there. He's got a long way to go though. They do got some interesting pieces. Vince Carter is still going to be there, which is crazy as shit to me. But you know what? Vince Carter in that locker room could be a good thing. A veteran like Vince Carter in there. So, obviously they're going to try to put it together. So I think the Hawks in an interesting spot tonight. The Pelicans. That's a lot of work needs to be done with the Pelicans, Benny.
So right now they're number 6, right? So, I mean, if the teams in front of them are the ones that wind up with the thing, I think they wind up with like the 6th or 7th pick in the draft, somewhere around there with the Pelicans. I mean, really with them, Corey, right, it really comes down to what they do with Anthony Davis. Like, Anthony Davis is on his way out. The way the second half of that season played out with him playing 15, 20 minutes a game when he wanted to play and he felt like playing and all that stuff, the Anthony Davis era in New Orleans is over. So not only do they have their pick to help rebuild with, but there's probably going to be some kind of draft capital that comes back in whatever they do with Anthony Davis. I mean,
obviously, yeah, it would have to be.
The Celtics have a couple options to get first-round picks this year. They have a trade with Memphis that's protected. So if Memphis ends up I think that Memphis needs some of the teams in the back of the draft to win the lottery for them to drop below 8. But the Celtics would be able to get that pick. Now, here's an interesting one. This is the most interesting protected pick to me of the entire draft here right now. So Sacramento has a 1% chance. They were the team that just missed the playoffs. They have a 1% chance of getting the first overall pick.
Yeah. Depending
on if they get that pick, do you know who their number 1 overall pick would go to if they get it?
Who?
The Philadelphia 76ers.
That'd be crazy.
So there's a 1% chance that Sacramento wins the number 1 overall pick, and if they do, the pick belongs to the 76ers. Now, if Sacramento gets anything but the number 1 pick, so if they have pick 2 through pick 14 in this draft, which is where they would end up, it goes to the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
So the Sacramento pick doesn't belong to them one way or another. It's just, if it's number 1, we're handing Zion Williamson to the Philadelphia 76ers as part of some trade that they made. And if it's not number 1, they're handing that pick to the Celtics as part of another trade that they made at some point.
And that would be the miracle. Let me tell you something. You cannot spit in the face of a Knicks fan more than giving Zion Williamson to the Philadelphia 76ers. That would be
I'll tell you what, like I said, when I was looking at stuff today, I was like, that's interesting. I was like, so if they won the number 1 pick, it would actually go – and I'm saying to myself saying, like, you don't know who's going to stay in Philly and who's going to wind up leaving. I think all those guys are under contract, though, so I don't think there's anyone that could walk. But you would basically then have, Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Zion Williamson, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid as your 5, with J.J. Redick as your 6th guy coming off the bench to give you some shooting.
That'd be crazy. A lot of people don't think. See, here's the thing. When you listen to a lot of these NBA cats, a lot of them not going to tell you stuff. They just happen to say things. I think Jimmy Butler is in play for the Knicks and the Nets, to be honest with you, depending on how things go. I think Tobias Harris is gone. But what's really interesting is the LeBron James talk again. It's coming up again this summer. Mm-hmm. And I can see it. I can see it. I can see the Lakers saying, you know what, fuck it, let's get ourselves out of this. And I can see LeBron saying, you know what, yeah, that's cool, I don't mind. Because LeBron said last year, Philadelphia was second last year.
I was just gonna say, are you talking about the LeBron for Ben Simmons rumors?
Yeah, the LeBron for Ben Simmons rumors.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of smoke here. When there's a lot of smoke, there's usually some talk that's actually going on. And when we talk about trades, a lot of times if you're a fan of a team, you always want to win a trade. But the best trades are always when both teams walk away happy with the situation that they got. I mean, you look at the Atlanta Hawks and the Dallas Mavericks last year.
That worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I don't think either team is upset with the way it worked out. We got Luka, who's going to be our star for the future. You got Trae Young, who's going to be your star for the future. Luka had the huge first half of the season. Trae had the huge second half of the season. Like, that's one of those trades where everybody's happy. I don't think anybody cares.
The Hawks were the highest scoring team in the NBA after the All-Star break?
Yeah, because they played no defense and they ran up and down. You were just talking about it, trying to make them like the Warriors of the East Coast. The only difference is the Warriors have some guys that actually play defense too.
The Warriors, one thing about the Warriors are always in the top 5 in offense and they're always in the top 5 in defense. Atlanta has a long way to go before they get to that level right there. Mm-hmm. But it worked out perfectly, especially how both teams want to build themselves. You know what I'm saying, with the way Cuban wants to build his team, and they want to build that team down there in Atlanta. Another interesting team is you talk about the Dallas Mavericks. What is their situation tonight, and also the Washington Wizards?
So Dallas, like I said, if they can get a pick in I want to say it's the top 5. So right now they're like they're like 7th or 8th in the list. So they basically have to win one of the top 3 picks, one of the lottery picks, in order for them to actually be able to keep their pick, which would be crazy if they did it. Because if they hop into the top 3, now you're talking about a healthy Doncic back. You're talking about having Kristaps Porzingis back, who, by the way, I don't know if you saw, but he got knocked out in a bar the other day.
Son, you see that joint? Face up and shit like that?
Yeah. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll talk about Dallas first, but we can talk about that later. But, I mean, yeah, you'd have Porzingis, you'd have Luka Doncic, and then you'd have another top 5 pick, which would actually be, in order for them to get it, would have to be a top 3 pick. So you'd be talking about, like, adding Zion, R.J. Barrett, or John Morant probably.
I can tell you I can tell you this. This is no tampering, right? Don't get nobody in no trouble. But I can tell you for a fact that Dallas Mavericks are in love with John Morant. They absolutely love him, and they would like to have him on their basketball team a lot.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like to have him on their basketball team, and that's why tonight's so important, because we get to find out.
If they was to get the first pick, I could see them taking Ja. That's how much they love him. If they don't get Ja, if they can't get Ja, their attention then turns to Kemba Walker.
Oh, that would be nice to see Kemba down there. Is Kemba? I know Kemba's a free agent, but do you think he's going to leave Charlotte?
Charlotte can offer him the most money, but I think he may want to be in a situation where he can win. Charlotte is not out the question. He's going to look at he's interested in the Knicks. He's interested in obviously seeing what they're putting together in Charlotte is also important to him. And the Lakers, obviously, you don't really turn down that opportunity for him. And then the Mavericks, it's Shamgar. You know what I'm saying? Shamgar coaches on the Mavericks, so that's.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Shamgar's one of the Mavericks assistant coaches, and Shamgar and Kemba Walker are like this. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that's where the connection comes in right there. They're going to be a major player for him. They might be second behind Charlotte, and obviously the Knicks being that mix also. In Washington, this is a shit show right here.
Yep.
This is a shit show right here, Benny, because you got a dude that you paying $1 gazillion that's not going to play the next season, right?
It's definitely a problem. There's a lot of things going on with that Charlotte team that's definitely.
The Wizards, you mean?
What happened?
The Wizards.
Oh, with the Wizards. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on with that Wizards team that's going to be an issue. I mean, they have I think they're either 5th or 6th. 9% chance to get the first overall pick here. But you got to see what they're going to wind up doing. I mean, are they going to keep John Wall, or have they seen enough of John? Seen enough of them playing without him?
You can't move him. Who wants him?
You can move him to somebody as a salary dump. Somebody would wind up taking him, but you're going to have to pay for it. Like, you're also going to have to give up a young player or a draft pick or something like that to get somebody to take him.
It's hard to imagine that John Wall is like an expiring contract. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he's Isaiah Thomas now.
Yeah, but I mean, this, honestly, this is one of the problems with giving huge contracts, huge long-term deals to some of these guys, because
they haven't done anything yet.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, even no matter what sport it is, at some point these guys are not going to be worth the money you gave them. Maybe they were when you first got them. John Wall's biggest problem is he's gone through so many injuries right now, And again, as a guard who relies on his athleticism, these injuries keep taking a toll, Derrick Rose is a great example. How long did it take Derrick Rose to even get back to approach the level he was at when he was an MVP? I mean, with those knee injuries and stuff, it took him 3 or 4 years. And even now when he's playing, he's still sitting out a lot of games with injuries and minor things like that. So, I kind of feel like I feel bad, but it's kind of the same way that John Wall is heading right now too is, if the guy can't stay healthy, really is he going to be helping your team out? It's not only just him though. I mean, they had a couple other guys too that, just aren't living up to the salaries and the contracts that they gave them. My biggest problem with the Wizards right now is like, what is your team concept?
Exactly.
You have Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal should probably be the guy you're building around. But you look at the other pieces that you have with them. Again, they did get who's the trade they made for Porter, right? They got Otto Porter in the middle of the year. So you're starting to get some things in line right here. They need to go get some big guys. That was their big problem this year. I mean, Thomas Bryant's a nice off the bench kind of big guy, but they're a team that really needs to go out and get a big guy. Who's the kid from Maryland? Fernando Bruno.
Oh, you're talking about
Bruno Fernando.
Is Jalen Smith?
No, Bruno Fernando is the big kid from Maryland.
Okay.
He's their center. He's a guy that they could look at. He's a guy that I've seen anywhere from like top 10 pick to like last pick of the first round in mock drafts. So he's somebody that's kind of bouncing around all over. But that's the kind of guy that they actually need. They need to put some height on that team.
Hey, do you think Taco Fall is an NBA dude?
I mean, basically the answer to that question is, what do you think of Boban Marjanovic? That's, to me, that's the kind of comp that he is, right? Like, he's not going to be able to guard people on the perimeter in a pick and roll game. So you're really talking about him as just like a big shot blocker who's going to rebound and make some shots for you. To me, he's like a backup center, right? He's a backup center that you want to get 12 to 15 minutes out of, block some shots, get some rebounds, play with the second unit.
Pick up some fouls.
Yeah, I don't expect him to be a starting center in this league. I don't think he has the athleticism to do that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I agree with you on that one. I don't think so either. Some of the other players that are going to be, names that we're going to hear a lot about next couple of weeks. The kid DeAndre Hunter from Virginia. Yeah. I think he's a good young ball player. We just saw him win the national championship. I think he can really help a team out. Any international players coming out this year that we don't know about?
The one kid whose name I kept seeing is a kid from France. Kind of like a big kid, big and athletic. Probably like a 3-4 kind of option.
Okay.
The way a lot of those European guys are. He's probably a pretty good passer. I mean, I've never seen the kid play, so I can't really say too much. I'm just going off of the blurbs that I've read in NBA draft stuff right here. I think the thing that you notice when you start looking at the mock drafts, Corey, there's a lot of 3-and-D wing type players that are coming out. A lot of shooting guards, a lot of small forwards.
You see, that's what we're talking about, this whole R.J. Barrett thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's a lot of cats that can do what R.J. Barrett do.
I mean, he's honestly probably one of the best at it, though. You know what I mean? He's got the size. He's got a little bit of an outside game. He goes to the hole really well. And, again, he's a 19, 20-year-old kid. So, the biggest knock on him is you probably want to see him put some size on for the NBA. But when you're a 19, 20-year-old kid, you're going to put that size on, When you start getting your, you get your big contract and you hire your personal chef and your personal trainer and you're at the, you're there working out with the team all the time. By the time he's 21, 22 years old, he's going to fill out into a guy who should be a, legit small forward in this league that's able to not only score but also guard some of those, stud guys on the other teams.
One of the big names that we'll be hearing about, probably see a couple profiles on. Don't project him to go in the lottery, but will definitely be a first-round NBA pick. Health is going to be a problem. I'll let you know that right now. But Bol Bol, the son of Manute Bol.
Yeah, I mean, again, he was a guy that a lot of people liked. A lot of people liked him coming out of high school, too. Got hurt, didn't finish out the season this year on that Oregon team.
Think about it, I think he's going to probably get hurt a lot.
Well, I mean, you look at the way he's built better than his dad was.
Yeah.
His dad was a beast.
He's a skilled big man, too.
Yeah, he's got the good basketball skills, which is a good thing, but he's another guy that, the NBA, you're playing 84 games. A lot of these kids in college, maybe they played 30, 35.
Obama couldn't even play 30 this year.
And that's the thing. I mean, you're playing 2-3 times as many games, and you're playing against grown men. Like, these kids in college were all the biggest, baddest guys on their team and the biggest, baddest guys on the floor unless they were playing against each other. in the NBA, these are going to be like the smallest guys on the team, the skinniest guys on the floor. So, you know, that pounding adds up.
Different monster. You got to go guard that dude that's on that back end of that contract that's trying to go get another one. You know what I'm saying? And you coming in there at 19 years old and you're frail, and you looking at Kendrick Perkins. He don't got no time for that shit.
I mean, even a PJ Tucker, you see him
you're right.
banging with a PJ Tucker. I mean, PJ Tucker's gonna beat him up. You know, like that's PJ Tucker is banging with guys like Draymond Green, who were solid and big and been in the league, you know, and know all the stuff. You throw a little skinny kid in there, he's gonna eat him up. I mean, but again, that's the thing. Like I tell people all the time, like the draft is cool and it's fun. There's maybe 5 players that are going to make an impact next year. There's maybe 15 players in the entire draft that are going to make an impact at any point in their career. Like half the guys that are getting drafted here, this is probably going to be the highlight of their basketball career. You're probably not going to hear much about them. I mean, you look at a guy like a Frank Kaminsky, right, who was like a top 10 overall pick. Really, what has Frank Kaminsky done since then? You know, college basketball hero, top 10 pick in the draft, you know, somebody that everybody was like, oh, this guy's a really good player. He's basically a bench player in the NBA, right?
No doubt. A couple Tar Heels are coming out in this class. You got Kobe White and you got Nasir Little. You know, it's nothing spectacular on either player. I think White could be a good point guard.
He'll probably end up as a backup, at least to start his career.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not a bad thing. I mean, you had guys like Jeff Teague who started out as backups and then went on. Darren Collison started his career as a backup and went on to be a starter.
Right there for White, Jeff Teague. That's a great comp.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the greatest three-point shooter overall. He's, you know, really good at running a team. He's going to push the ball up and down the floor. You know, I mean, he's a nice player. If he goes in the lottery, it'll be the back end of the lottery. I feel he's like somewhere in the 12 to 20 range. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he'll be a nice piece for somebody's second unit that needs another point guard.
I'm looking through some mock draft information right now, and a kid I did that I like to watch this year, and I thought he was pretty good. The team around him just stunk. Was Romeo Langford, from Indiana. And I'm looking at the mock draft projections, and they got him projected to go to the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm like, nah, I don't like him. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's no knock on the kid wherever he winds up. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys, and I like a lot of those guys. Like when you get those guys that didn't play on a big team, so they don't have the real big name, but, you know, they were the star on that team and they carried the offense and, you know, were basically the centerpiece of those teams. Those are the guys that tend to work out pretty well in the NBA. So I wouldn't mind the team getting him somewhere around the, you know, 15th to 25th pick. That's probably where he belongs.
No doubt. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out over the course of the next couple hours. We'll get back and break it down and talk about it tomorrow morning. Do you believe in these conspiracy theories, like with the Patrick Ewing one, the cold envelope? You know what I'm saying? Or
well, I'll tell you tonight. If the Knicks get the number 1 pick, then I believe in them.
You think it's true, huh? The cold envelope was kind of like, well, the cold envelope. The rumor was the envelope with the cold the Knicks envelope was put in the freezer the night before, and then when they was put in the chamber on NBA lottery night, the dude that was selecting them was more or less stay away from the cold one. That's the Knicks. We want the Knicks to go to. We want Patrick Ewing to go to the Knicks, and then this way we create. Because who was the Knicks center?
When they got Ewing, I don't even remember that far.
No, son, he was good.
It was Bernard King years.
No, it was. They wanted to recreate the Twin Towers. That was the rumor. The Knicks wanted to recreate the Twin Towers because they had a good center at the time. It wasn't I can't think of his name right now, but he was, you know, when Patrick Ewing got there, he wasn't what Patrick Ewing was. But
right,
you believe in those conspiracy theories that surround the NBA draft lottery?
I mean, again, I was a couple years old. I might have been like 5 years old when that whole thing happened with Patrick Ewing. So I don't really, you know, remember all the lead up to it. But here's what I'll say. From what I know of it now, I'm pretty sure the way they do it now is they have one of like the big accounting firms come in, you know, Anderson, whatever, Pricewaterhouse, I don't know, whichever one of the big firms comes in. And they do it almost like they do it when they count like votes for the Oscars and things like that. Like, it's in the room with these guys who are like, you know, professional eggheads whose job is to, you know, make sure that the whole thing is on the up and up. So if they got away with it back then, it was probably a lot easier to get away with something like that back then.
Yeah.
I'm saying they did. Like I said, I was like 5 years old at the time, so I don't know how much of the story is true. But you hear that story all the time. I don't think something like that would happen anymore. I think the whole thing is going to be on the up and up. I think if the Knicks get the pick, I mean, again, they have a 1-in-7 shot, so it's not like they have no chance to wind up with the number 1 overall pick here. You know, they actually have one of the better chances of all these teams. So I don't really think there's anything to it. I mean,
as a Knicks fan, you think about the lottery when LeBron came out. You think about the Derrick Rose thing was disgusting because like the Chicago Bulls had like a 2% chance of getting that pick. And they got that pick, and it was like, yo, how did this happen? And the Bulls were right back after that. You know what I mean? They were back to being a playoff team immediately. The Bulls could have took down the Cavs if they would have stayed healthy. And then obviously the LeBron James thing, the Cavaliers did the masterful tank job with that one. That looked like it was, a situation made in heaven. But then if you're a Knicks fan, you also got the decision. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that the decision was like, here we go again. So it'll be good to see our Knicks fans catch a break tonight as they go to try to track down the big homie Zion Williamson. And it's going to be interesting to watch. It's going to be the biggest draft lottery in a couple years. Benny, how you betting it? Or are you betting it at all? It's probably not a good idea to bet this thing. You know what I'm saying? But you know how it is.
Yeah, like I told everybody a while ago, right? Like if you're a Knicks fan and you want to do it for like some action, fine, by all means. But like, I don't know, man. Like I look for edges, right? Like there's no edge in betting on the draft lottery. Like I'm telling you right now, it's a 14% chance. So if you do the math, it works out to like 1.72 or something like that. So if you're getting better than plus 720 odds, then yeah, you're getting value and you should probably bet it. So if there's like I don't know, I haven't looked this morning, but if one of the sites is offering like an odds boost of plus 1,000 on like the Knicks to get the pick, then there's actually some value in betting it. But if you're getting less than 7.2 to 1 or less than plus 720, you're really just paying a vig for something that is a coin flip. Like I would rather bet on teams where I have a strong view that, oh, this team's going to win and they're going to cover, or this guy's going to hit 3 3-pointers and I'm taking the over, or this guy's going to score 10 or 15 points. There's a couple of those that we could talk about for the game tonight that I would rather have my money on.
Okay.
I feel like if I did my homework, I have an advantage and I have an edge. There is no edge in betting on this. You're basically betting on a coin flip, right? Like this is a roll of the roulette ball. This is a hand of blackjack. Like it's at best you're gonna get the there. There's no way you can hedge.
$50 and buy a scratch off.
Exactly. Like there's no like do your homework and get an edge on anything like this. This is a 1 in 7 chance. That's it.
The Knicks FanDuel has the Knicks at plus 500.
You can't take that. Again, it's a 14% chance. That's 1 in 7.2.
So you're saying don't even bet it at plus 500?
No.
Yeah.
Put it at plus 500, you're giving away basically like 25-30% in value. No. You're getting 70 cents on the dollar for what it should be.
And that's not going to be good enough. Let me see if I can find it over here. NBA lottery. Oh, NBA lottery envelope boosters. Oh, what? It's suspended. All of these are suspended.
What is?
PointsBet, they're all suspended. PointsBet has Knicks to get the number 1 pick. That's currently suspended. It's going to open back up it doesn't show the odds.
Oh, okay.
It's going to open back up at noon. From noon to 1, you can bet on the Knicks to get the number 1 pick on PointsBet. Knicks not to get a top 3 pick. You can bet that from 1 to 2. Zion to win Rookie of the Year. You can bet that from 2 to 3. The Cavs to get the number 1 pick. You can bet from 3 to 4. Ja Morant to be the 2nd pick. You can bet from 4 to 5. I don't understand why they're putting times on these. And the Knicks to get the number 1 pick. And Kevin Durant to win the MVP. Next year, you can bet on that also. So it's a lot going on points.
So here's why they're putting times on that, Corey. This is where you would bet. If you want to get money down and you're in, where's PointsBet? I know New Jersey has it. Is it available anywhere else?
No, it's only in they got the app, which the app you got to know a person. Right. The cage, they do not take bets at the cage at the Meadowlands. So you have to do it on the app. You can open up an account at the cage at the Meadowlands. You can withdraw at the cage at the Meadowlands, but you cannot place a bet there.
All right, so here's the thing. The reason why they're doing that 12 to 1, you can bet on this, 2 to 3, you can bet on that, is because they're probably going to offer some kind of deal on it, like some kind of plus odds deal, right? So, I mean, I just did the math for you guys. The chances of the Knicks, the Cavs, or Phoenix Suns ending up with the number 1 overall pick is, 1 to 7.2. So if you're getting better than like plus 710, 720 odds on it, like if they have an odds boosted up to plus 750, that's when you could take that bet because at least the odds are in your favor. Again, it's still a roll of the dice, but you're getting paid off more than you would. Like if you made that bet 100 times, you would walk away winning more money than you bet. So if you're getting better than plus 720, there's value in doing the first overall pick. The other one that you said that was interesting is the Knicks not to get a top 3 pick.
Yeah.
I got to do the math, but it's like it'd be like 14%, and then it would be 14% again, but minus whoever got the first pick because they wouldn't be able to get both of them.
Yeah.
So it would be like 16% and then like 18%. So basically, there's like a 50% chance that the Knicks get one of the top 3 picks.
Yeah.
So in order for you to take that, what is it that the Knicks don't get one is the bet?
The Knicks don't get one of the top lottery boosters. Knicks not to get a top 3 pick.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to be getting over plus 200 to make that something you would consider. Like that, I'd have to sit down and do the math. I didn't figure it all out, but it's basically 14%, which is like 1/7 times 1/7 minus whatever the percentage of the team that got the first. It's a whole long equation for it, but basically it's about a 50-50 shot that they get a top 3 pick.
So it's all kind of boosters in here. Like I said, different ways to bet it. PointsBet does seem like they may have this a little bit on lock. I'm looking at they have the exact order of top 2. So if you want to bet the exact order, that's coming in at plus 4,000. That's sort of like your bet on the Portland Trailblazers.
Don't bet that because it would basically be 1 in 7 times 1 in 7. It would be like you would need plus 5,000. It would be plus 4,900.
Would be plus 4,000. So that
plus 4,000 on picking the right order for the top 2 is there's no value in that.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. All right, tonight we got Western Conference Finals game number 1, Golden State and Portland and Golden State. What do you think, Benny? What we got tonight? What are we looking at as far as numbers wise? I'll put it up right now.
So a couple interesting things here, Corey. We talked about it yesterday. I put the bet in yesterday at Golden State was minus 500. The line is actually moving. They were minus 560 this morning on DraftKings Playbook, and that's where I got the minus 500 yesterday. So it's already starting to move more into that direction. And I forget what Portland was up to. I want to say like plus 400. I think yesterday they were plus 3 or plus 280, something like that.
Yesterday it was 370.
370, yeah. So it was over 400 today. I think it was either plus 400 or plus 410. So you're seeing that it's moving. The money is coming in, and the line is moving into Golden State's favor. The teams were 2-2 when they played during the regular season. I had a little trouble getting too much out of those games, though, when you try to break them down, because Nurkic played most of those games, and DeMarcus Cousins played 1 or 2, and Kevin Durant was in all those games. And these are all guys that are not going to be available for these games right now. Steph Curry didn't play the first time they matched up, so like, when I'm trying to break down a series, I want to look and see how the teams did against each other during the year. But it's not exactly the same, right? Like the teams right now are a lot different than they were when they played each other 4 times during the year. Again, both teams missing their starting center, Kevin Durant being out. Like you got some big names out there. Couple things that I want to throw out there, though. Both teams beat the other team on their home floor, and they both beat them on their home floor by a good margin. Like
I was going to mention that right quick, Benny.
Yeah.
Portland will win one of these games in Golden State. They will win one of these games at Oracle.
Yeah, and honestly, Golden State could win one of the games in Portland because they beat them there. They split the season series 2-2. They both went 1-1 on their home floor. So to me, this looks like this is going to be a 6-7 game series where, they both have the ability to beat the other one at their home, and they both have the ability to lose at home to the other team. Couple things that I noticed when I was looking at it. There's a bet over on DraftKings tonight, the over-under on Klay and Steph 3-point made together.
Yeah.
So I looked back at the games during the year. So they played 4 times, right? The last game they played, Steph hit 5 threes, Klay had 2, so that would be 7. That would be an over. The time before that they played, Steph hit 2, Klay hit 4, so that was 6. That would have been under. The second game they played, Steph hit 6, Klay hit 2, so that would have been 8. That would have been an over. And then the first game, Steph didn't play, but Quinn Cook, who was in for Steph, knocked down 5 threes in that game, and Klay had another 4, so that got them to 9. And you also got to think, Kevin Durant played all these games too, so some of those outside shots went to Durant as well. So I really like that over 6.5 3-point number that they're offering.
Yeah.
DraftKings even has it as a boost today. It's supposed to be paying like plus 115 or so, which is where it should be.
Yeah.
And they have it boosted up to plus 150. So I put that in this morning. They only let me put like $84. It was just the weirdest shit ever. Like $84 was the max they let me put on it.
They think it's going to hit.
Yeah, so I put $84 on it at plus 150, which will pay a little over 200. But I like that bet a lot because I think that's the way. You got to think without Kevin Durant in here. There's two things that are going to change this series a lot. With no Kevin Durant, and again, we don't know if DeMarcus Cousins is going to play. He's probably not going to play the first game. He might play at some point in the series, but Golden State likes to use that lineup of death, as they call it, right? Where they put Andre
the Hamptons 5.
Or the Hamptons 5 now, yeah, whatever the hell they want to call it. But when you have Andre Iguodala playing small forward and you slide Draymond to center, you slide Durant to the 4, they no longer have the personnel to do that. So here's a team that used to play small a lot of the time and kind of speed games up. They legitimately have to play either like a Kevin Looney or a Andrew Bogut. Like, they don't have the ability to go small anymore. The reason why I say that is, Nurkic in those first couple games had big numbers against them in small minutes, right? Like, Nurkic usually played like 25 to like 35 minutes. When he played the Warriors, it was always closer to 25, but he was putting up double-doubles in those 25 because the Warriors' interior wasn't really that good this year. So now that Enes Kanter has taken over for him, you got to think that, the way the Warriors match up, they have to be playing either Bogut or Looney, which means there isn't going to be that situation where they go small, and Portland used to have to take Nurkic out and go with, Aminu at center and all that. So I think that this could be a good series for Enes Kanter. So I'm looking for like an Enes Kanter double-double tonight. They don't have all the props up yet, the player props up yet, but like Kanter for a double-double or Kanter for like 9 or 10 rebounds, I think that's going to be a good bet here tonight. And I also think, and I'm not sure of this, I don't know if you have any Muslim friends or not, but I know during that last series –
Ramadan.
Yeah, he was fasting and all that stuff. Is that done now? Like, is he back to, I have no idea. I'm not going to pretend to be
I don't know.
I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the, Muslim faith. But as long as he's back to, the reason why that matters is you got to fast during the day. So he's not eating. So it could affect your stamina and all that stuff. If he is back to like, eating normally and 100%, I think this could be a big series for Enes Kanter because I think that Kanter and Kevon Looney are going to have to play a lot of minutes here because it's really the only thing that the Warriors can do now with the current roster that they have.
I give you a couple things about Ramadan right quick, right? The other night, Mark Jones was mentioning on the broadcast, right? And he was talking about how special meals, he has to wake up certain times in order to get his nutrition in and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And he went to pass it to Hubie Brown. And Hubie Brown didn't say a word. You know what I'm saying? Hubie Brown was like, "You're not getting me involved in this." Like, Hubie Brown could care less. He said, "What do you think, Hubie?" And Hubie was like, "You know what? I really like the way that rotating on that pick and run." I'm like, Hubie Brown didn't want none of it. Also, during Game 7, they talked about Ramadan, and Kanter said something very interesting. He was like, "It's tough not eating, not being able to drink water during the timeouts and stuff like that." But he says what it does is it makes you mentally stronger. You know what I'm saying? And
I can see that.
And I thought that was something that was real interesting part. Kanter points and rebound over 23 is over 23 and a half. Is
what is it paying?
Minus 160.
Money? Minus 160?
Yep.
See, so they're great.
Minus 116.
Plus 116?
No, minus 116.
Minus 160. So they're agreeing with me that it's going to be a big series for Kanter because, they're not even offering you even money on him basically having like a 14-9 or 15-8 or, 12-11 kind of game. So like I said, if you can find some good rebound props or some good odds on Kanter or somewhere, I think he's going to be good this series. Another thing that's interesting about this series, Corey, Rodney Hood is probably going to be out. I don't know if you saw in that last game, he went down in the third quarter.
Yeah.
I was looking at, our boys on Inside Injuries today. They had posted something that he's going for an MRI today. He's definitely not playing today. And it looks like he said, the kind of injury that he has, he missed the worst case scenario, whatever the worst case scenario was. But still with what they're saying he has is it's normally like a 2 to 3 week situation before you're right. So we may not see Rodney Hood for the rest of the series, which is going to open up shots. Because remember, Rodney Hood was playing well in that last series against Denver. He was a guy with that second unit that was putting up some points for them. Yeah, so, you're either going to have to see more minutes from
Harkless.
You can see more minutes from, like McCollum, but, you're going to have to get guys like Curry, maybe like Evan Turner. Like, guys like that are going to have to –
Harkless?
Yeah, well, Harkless already plays a lot of minutes with the first unit, too. That's the only reason why I don't know how much of a bump he's going to get. Because really, like, Hood was the scorer with the second unit. So now scoring with the second unit is going to have to fall more on guys like Curry and Evan Turner, you know, and to see what they can do with it. So it's going to be interesting, and we'll see the way they decide to do it, you know, in the first game. I got to be honest with you guys, I really don't know. Like, if I'm playing DFS tonight, if you're playing like a showdown slate, guys like Turner and Curry are a little more interesting knowing that Hood won't be in here. But I would be willing to kind of hop off that if we see tonight that that's not the way it plays out. But you definitely got to figure that there's minutes and shots now that are available if Rodney Hood's not going to be in this series.
Interesting games on the docket for tonight. Benny, which way you going with the point spread, or do you like anything besides the props? Do you like anything with the point spread or the total?
Yeah, I mean, 7.5 feels like a lot of points to me.
It really does.
I mean, again, I'm not, there's no Kevin Durant. Yeah, the Warriors are still a really good team, but 7.5 feels like a lot of points. So I would be willing to hop on Portland knowing that I got that 7.5. I mean, if the Warriors blow them out this game, they blow them out. But Portland's one of those teams that's got heart. I don't see Portland getting blown out here.
Yeah, I think Portland is tough. That Portland's is going to show up. If they do get blown out, they'll get blown out tonight, and they'll come back and win tomorrow. That's the kind of team that Portland is. But I think Portland plays it close to the vest. 7.5 is still kind of playing the Warriors close to the vest. Listen, it's going to be a couple of hits and miss and free throws down the stretch. Ball bounce one way or another and see how it ends up. I would probably catch the 7.5 with the Blazers and see if I can parlay the Warriors money line with something else. It's how I would play it tonight. I don't know what that parlay with something else would be. I would have to find that out. Probably a stupid-ass baseball team like the who was it last night? Like the Cleveland Indians that decided to rob me of my funds. What you got? Anything, Benny? For that besides those props, anything else tonight?
Like I said, I'm looking for. Here's a couple things that I'll tell you guys too. Andre Iguodala points. Last series we were riding the Andre Iguodala points prop because they needed him to play James Harden. I said this series they might need to play Kevon Looney more, but now that Kevin Durant is out, basically Iguodala's got to play 35 minutes and he's going to get an opportunity to shoot more. So if we can still get an Iguodala points prop at maybe 12 or under, I'd be looking to take the over on that one too. Draymond Green is somebody who's going to have – Draymond didn't have good games this year against Portland, but he didn't have good games with, the Warriors having their full complement of people. And when I say he didn't have good games, he had like Draymond Green games, right? Like 8 points, 7 rebounds.
Draymond's a different player right now, though.
I think that his production without Kevin Durant is going to have to go up. Like, I got to be honest, I made a showdown slate. If anybody plays the DFS slates, I made a showdown lineup today. And most of my lineup is basically Damian Lillard going back to Oakland and a whole bunch of guys in the Warriors because figuring without Durant, no one guy is going to take the 18 to 22 shots that Durant took. That's going to get spread out amongst everybody. So you're going to get a couple more from Clay, a couple more from Steph. You're going to need more offense from guys like Draymond, guys like Andre Iguodala, a guy like Kevon Looney. So if you get low, like 10 to 12 point, over-unders on guys like Iguodala, Looney, and Draymond Green, those are going to be things that I'm going to be interested in.
There you go right there. Benny, I got a big piece of chicken for David Fizdale, Steve Mills, and the New York Knicks. You actually did it. You tanked, and there's a shot. There is hope once again. I'm quite sure it may be going tomorrow morning, though. What you got, though, Benny?
Yo, my big piece of chicken today goes out to Mike from Optimum. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when I called at 9 o'clock last night, wondering when my stuff was going to come on, everybody else, the Optimum Help app, all the Optimum people on Twitter were all like, it'll be back up soon, it'll be back up soon. Mike is the only real motherfucker that works for Optimum because he was like, yo, dog, you might as well just go to sleep because this shit's not going to be fixed till midnight.
Yeah,
exactly what he said to me.
I love cats like that. Keep it all the way buck with me. Don't send me no bullshit.
Right. You know what? And I was fine with that because I said, you know what? No problem. Hung out for a little while, and then I went to bed early last night. So shout out to Mike from Optimum, yo. Even if they fire you for telling me that, big piece of chicken, bro.
My man, you got it. All right. For my main man, Benny Ricciardi, I'm Corey Parson, the fantasy exec, the opening line. We are out.